Damn, son. Let me just say this. You guys were right. I should have been hating on Gurren Lagann like that, yo. I shouldn't have been doing it. What was I thinking, yo? Now, there were some parts that were corny, but let's get to it. We're going to go through episode 16 through 22. Alright, so we start this bitch off. This is after the time skip. After Lord Genome's been beaten, Simone's, you know, just chilling. He's trying to fuck Nina, trying to marry her and stuff, and I guess they're getting up to that 1,000, or not 1,000, but 1,000,000 people limit that Lord Genome was trying to warn him about. And as soon as a baby's born, and it clicks over to that 1,000,000, some anti-spiral shit starts activating. They call it like the anti-spiral human eradication system. So like this huge ship comes down, and it just starts messing. And the new government have like no effect on it. So Simone's like, all right, you know what? Gotta get Gurren Lagann. Gotta go take that shit out. He goes out there, hits it one punch, and just blows the whole thing up, and it takes out like a huge chunk of the city. So they start having like, you know, people start going like, Simone, you can't do that shit. You're supposed to be the supreme commander. You can't do this. And as all this is happening, Nina like becomes one of the anti-spiral people. Like I don't know if, because I'm not that far ahead. I'm only at 22, but Nina becomes like an anti-spiral person herself, and she's like telling the humans that, okay, you guys are all gonna die. We're gonna murder all of you. And you know, and Simone like tries to go find her, and he eventually finds her, and there's like this huge, you know, broadcast with her telling everybody like, all right, so you're gonna die. And Simone's there. He's like, what do you mean? And it shows him too, and so people think that he's part of this anti-spiral movement that is going to help destroy the Earth and all the people on it. So your boy Rossio, who is a complete bitch by the way, tries to take over Simone's, you know, supreme commander spot. He's like holding Simone at trial. He's like taking away his things. He's like, Simone, you're sentenced to death. We're gonna put you in jail. And as all this is happening, more and more anti-spirals are coming and trying to destroy everybody on the planet. So Simone's like, all right, look, the anti-spirals are here. We need to help them, or we need to help destroy them. Look, let me take Gurren Lagann out there. And let me destroy him. And if I try to run away, you can wire explosives to me. So if I even try to get away, you can just blow me up. And so he goes out there. He beats a bunch of spirals, and he has to go back. And you know, everybody's really angry at, or not everybody, but there's a lot of people who are trusting Rossio, except for the Team Gurren members, you know, Kittan and all those guys. So while Simone is getting taken to prison, and you know, Rossio's trying to run everything and make sure all the people are okay, another anti-spiral message comes out that says they're going to actually take the moon and smash it into the Earth, you know, destroying like everything, the outer crust, everything. So they decide that they have to evacuate everyone they can, and they can only evacuate about 600,000 people. They're trying to get evacuated into the Tangatapa, you know, the big Art Gurren, you know, that big thing. That's the big battleship. They're trying to get people in there and trying to evacuate out into the atmosphere so they can, you know, eventually rebuild the population and things like that. So while that's all happening, more spiral will just keep coming down, and they keep, you know, just destroying things. And Team Gurren actually gets their old gunmen back, and I guess gunmen are the only thing that are really capable of fighting the anti-spirals. So crazy scene. So everyone's like evacuating people. Kittan, who is total beast, but he hella reminds me of Kamina right now. This scene just badass, yo. Badass scene. This scene had me like, this is my background on my computer right now. This is what's gonna be the image on the box. This is the best scene of this arc, I guess you could call it, where he's evacuating people, you know, his friend, and he's like, you know, his wife and his new baby, and they're trying to get him to go, and he comes out and he takes like a big anti-spiral comes out of nowhere. It just drops down like almost right on top of him, and he tells him, he's like, go, you know, I'll be good. And they're like, no, wait, stop. And he's like, you know, going to sacrifice himself. And he pulls out his shotgun. He's like, I got some anti-spiral shells. He just cocks that bitch, and he starts walking towards the anti-spiral, just with his shotgun in his hand, you know. And he starts shooting like, bow, bow, bow. I was like, oh man, it was a badass scene, man. Kittan for the win on this shit. So while they're all fighting, the new anti-spiral is with the old gunman, and Team Gurren's like trying to defend Art Gurren and you know, trying to help it get into outer space. Simone is in prison, and in prison he's just meeting like a whole bunch of beastmen, and he's actually, you know, I don't want to say becomes friends, but he teams up with Viral, and you know, they were both in jail and they're fighting and stuff like that, and like, you know, he's kind of bringing up Kamina. He's like, you'll never be Kamina. You know, you never were like him. You know, even when Kamina didn't have his Gurren Lagann, he had, you know, Kamina was a beast. Like, we had so many good fights. And the relationship between Viral and Kamina, I love that shit, man. You know, I think Viral has so much respect for Kamina. It's ridiculous. Art Gurren starts lifting off, and nobody's coming to their rescue. And next thing you know is Yoko shows up, and Yoko just, you know, blasts like a Mia spiral, and it just destroys it. It's awesome. So that was an awesome scene. There was a little flashback right there with Yoko to see what she was all doing. She was like becoming a teacher and you know, trying to help kids just understand things like that. It was kind of lame, but anyway, she gets back and she starts destroying. Like two gunmen come out of nowhere to like try to steal all the food that's on the that they have on that little island that Yoko was teaching on, and she like by herself she takes out two gunmen. It was sick. But they all bust into the prison, Team Gurren and Yoko, and they give them Gurren Lagann, and they all start taking off to go into space to help protect the Art Gurren and all the people, because you know there were still anti-spirals in space like attacking them, and they have really no way of defending themselves, except like the new gunmen that they have that really aren't even that effective against the anti-spirals. So they start going out there fighting, you know, Kittan and all those guys and their old gunmen, and you know, and the great thing was, I really like this, was Simone and Viral, they both were piloting Gurren Lagann, and I thought Viral piloting Gurren was like a great homage to, you know, like I said, he has so much respect for Kamina and, you know, everything that Kamina stood for. So he, you know, him piloting it was just great. There's some corny scenes I didn't like when they were both in there and they were like, who the hell do you think I am? And anyone who says that who is not Kamina, I don't like that. I mean, it's a great like way to remember him, and it's a great way to, you know, try to get that energy flowing. You know, he had that great fighting spirit, and when they say that, it you know, it really touched me. I was like, damn, but it was still pretty corny. So they go in there and they start fighting a bunch of the spirals, and more and more spirals are just coming and coming and coming, and like the moon eventually like starts shooting like giant lasers at it, and Gurren Lagann is just out there just raping a whole bunch of them, and eventually like this huge spiral comes and it like encases Gurren Lagann, and it encases the Ark too, and it's like starting to like destroy it, you know, blow it up and shit like that, and Gurren Lagann breaks out of their spiral that they were in, you know, the anti-spiral that they were in, and they merge with Art Gurren, turning it into like this super huge ass gunman. And you know, Gurren Lagann, Art Gurren Lagann, Tenga, whatever the fuck it is, it was a big monstrous thing. And so they're out there and they're trying to like stop the moon, and they're like, you know, trying to push it, you know, because the moon is still coming towards the Earth, so they're pushing it, and as they're pushing it, they start to realize that the moon is actually a gunman itself. And you know, as it starts getting close to the atmosphere, it starts breaking apart, and Lord Genome's like, oh shit, that's my old battle station. He's like, to the moon, to the moon. He keeps saying that shit, like, because he's like ahead, hooked up to a computer. So Viral and Simone, they break apart from the big Art Gurren, and they start flying into the moon to try to activate the spiral key, so that they can in turn, you know, stop the moon, because it is, you know, it's a battleship itself. So as they're breaking in to go do it, you know, Mia shows up. Like, Mia shows up right in front of it, and they're telling her, like, someone's telling them, like, oh, she's full of spirals, so if you try to hit her and unlock the thing, it's gonna blow up the whole moon, and then everything's fucked. So Simone like kind of talk no jutsus her into not being in the way. You know, he's saying like, oh, you don't really want to do this, I could tell, because you're here for me, you're still me inside, I know, I could tell it. And he's like, oh, I know, because you still have your ring on your finger. And she was like, she was like, oh shit, you know, I still do have that ring on my finger. And he's like, please move, and he just goes all out like, super drill breaker, and throws that shit in there and turns it on and stops the moon. And so that was some crazy shit, man. I really... The only person I really didn't like in this arc was Rossio. He was kind of a, what's the word I'm looking for? Bitch. Yeah, he was a little traitor-ass bitch. He was trying to play Simone. He tried to act like Simone was a little bitch. And every time, and it was cool what he said though at the end when he was like, every time I try to put something against Simone, he always rises up against it and beats it and beats the odds and, you know, does the impossible. Guys, that was 16 through 22. I really like that shit, man. You know, I know I was talking shit before, like on streams and stuff like that, but I was just playing. You know, I was just like, oh fuck Gurren Lagann, but no, it's actually really good. I'm really liking these last episodes, man. They're really getting intense, and I want to see what's gonna happen with all this space-time continuum and shit like that. And you know, like Gurren Lagann punched this one thing, and it like actually blasted through and created a rift in like space and time itself. So that's gonna be crazy to see what all goes into that. So anyways, guys, it's Smoke Ready. You already know. Hit that subscribe button if you're not subscribed. Hit the like button if you like the video. Peace the fuck out, guys. Bitches, blunts, anime, Gurren Lagann. It's really good. Check it out, guys. Peace the fuck out.